Welcome back to episode 5 of our Zero to Hero series. On our last episode, we had shenanigans after shenanigans after shenanigans going into each of these keys, but eventually we ended up timing a couple of them out. We got this Halls of Valor done in time, we got the Nakut offensive done in time, and we got through most of the other keys in time as well. So in today's episode, we're going to be going over the rest of the keys that we did on Port Week, and the first couple keys that we did on Tyranical Week as well. So buckle in, sit back, let's get on with the show. So we started off this session just like any other, playing LFG Simulator. We need to target our last two dungeons for our Fort Week, which are Algathar Academy and Ruby Life Pools. So to do this, we are just going to apply to every single Ruby and Academy that pops up in queue. But of course, getting into the groups would make it way too easy, right? Right. But then, as if it was destiny, we see a plus 13 RLP wanting a tank and good to go in queue. So we apply to that, of course, and we get instant declined again. But no worries though, this is just the most fun and engaging part of the game. Just applying to groups forever and ever and ever and ever. And surely, eventually, one of these groups will take us. We reapply. I write, I am tank. Put it in the note. That way, maybe they didn't know. Maybe they didn't realize I was tank. Now I'm putting in notes. I'm desperate. I'm trying to get into any group. Putting all these notes. I am tank. Quick run. I am quick tank. Seeing if anybody bites. And we get one biter for 12 Academy. So we heading off into this 12 Academy, and I really want to pull this whole room, but this is still an explosive week, so I'm a little bit nervous to do so. But I'm like, maybe I'll just pull half the room first. Let's see how it goes, see if we can manage the explosives well. And it doesn't actually even look too bad. I'm not taking a lot of damage. We do end up pulling this extra bird pack, which was not part of the plan. Our boomies seem to have just been in range to butt pull it, but it didn't work out too poorly. We get through the rest of these flowers without a problem, really. Like, I thought this pool was going to be a lot harder than it was, but I could have probably just pulled the entire room at once. I'll probably end up doing that on my next time through here. We kill the boss, and it's time to move on towards Croth. We kill the big bad bird, and I almost died of that last Savage Peck. I didn't want to use any of my cooldowns, but my natural king's procced, so I guess that's better than pressing a 5-minute cooldown, right? Good thing I just didn't die there and wipe the fight out right at the very end. So I wait to jump around these mobs, make sure everyone sees what I'm doing. And again, I'm pulling big because this is how I want to be learning how to play these dungeons. I want to be pulling as big as possible, as if I was doing a plus 20, plus 22, etc, etc. And the group is actually really, really good about it for the most part. Like, we're getting the explosives, we're dodging most of the frontals. My healer's keeping me up. I'm sustaining as best as I know how. I don't cycle my cooldowns perfectly yet. I'm still like learning at this point. And I get a little bit better with it coming up, but I don't really seem to need to do that much for these packs. Things seem to die and I just have wings for every pack. So we continue going. I'm watching the scepters in these packs, and we make our way towards the third boss. I get a little bit overzealous, pull a little bit too much, explosives start going off, we don't have enough CCs for everything here, and we end up wiping out to this pull. So it was very, very close, and with better preparation, we probably could have done this pull, but, you know, we just didn't have buttons for it, I guess. But no problem, we run it back, we need to cross this bridge, we have plenty of time, so I'm still going to pull aggressively here, double pull this, and we have no problem getting through to the boss again. And just like that, we killed Veximus, and we have one boss left to go and a little bit of trash percent left to get before we complete this dungeon. And still 12 minutes on the clock, so we're doing very well. We kill the last boss of Algathar Academy, and we loot Pants, which is a 50-something item level upgrade for us. So that is absolutely amazing. We got a huge piece of loot here. And now we have one key left to target, Ruby Life Pools. This is the last key that we need to at least say that we did each key completed on Fortified Week once. So I'm trying to convince my way into any of these groups, writing, I go fast, big speed, I'm a tank, please take me, hello. And, sometimes notes like that get people's attention, because I find I get more invites if I put notes in to the LFG than if I don't put notes in. So we get an invite, and we head off to Ruby Light Pools. So this wasn't the smoothest run in the world so far. We're about 2 minutes behind pace, but it's a plus 13, so I figure we can make it up. And we have 21 deaths on our timer right now. Not ideal. What's even worse is we end up wiping to these Inferno casts, and our heal's just not able to keep us up. So, unfortunately, I could have lived that last Inferno one, but I saw that our entire team was already dead, so what was the point of popping extra cooldowns, right? And at this point, our healer actually says that, we're probably not going to be able to do this key. I kind of agree. We're at 33 deaths and have 10 minutes left on our timer. I'd be okay to no-lever this if we were at least making progress and not wiping every single Inferno pool, but so far since we've been up here, we haven't been able to make it through a single Inferno without at least a couple of deaths. So, we call it quits here, and it's understandable. We're all slamming our heads against the table. It's okay, we move on. So we head back into LFG to hopefully find the last key that we need to finish off this fortified key. And to my surprise, without much trouble, we got a whole group going in a matter of minutes. We're getting ready to send this Rupee Life Pools once again. This time, we're sending a plus 12. And this one goes a little bit smoother than our previous run so far. We only have 8 deaths on our timer instead of 21, so that's a pretty big difference. So we get into our second round of the ring here, and before we walk into here, I tell everybody, stack in tight on the stairs. Fight on the stairs, do not fight in the pathway so we don't pull the dragon. And, of course, not everybody listens, and we end up getting Flame Gullet on top of this pack. So I think with an organized group of higher skill level, we would be able to manage to fight our way out of this just fine, because Flame Gullet doesn't really do a lot of damage until around 50%. And then he starts stacking up rapidly and doing increasing damage over time. But the group just gets overwhelmed and we're unable to finish out the pull, so we have to run back around. I decide to just go directly to the right because we only need the one more Inferno pack and then we're good to go to boss. We finish off the Inferno packs and I run through behind these trees to try to avoid these other mobs, but it looks like we end up just pulling it anyways. Not sure if that's because the Scorchlings were there or because, one of our teammates was just too close to the patrol pack even though I was running behind the bridge and maybe they didn't see it. Not quite sure what happened there, but we definitely didn't need this percent, and we definitely don't need to be wasting time on that. Our timer isn't looking too healthy, but it's not too bad either because this is 12, and we are doing decent damage throughout the key. We make it through the fight, we make it through the dungeon, and we complete this key with plenty of time left. We just slammed this last half of the dungeon. We have almost 6 minutes left on our timer, and we ended this week at a score of 1363. Absolutely awesome. We wake up on our brand new day, first day of our Tyranical week on our Paladin. Fortified week is behind us, and hopefully all the shenanigans are behind us too. We come to open our first vault, and we see that we get a tier chest, a not so great neck, and another piece as well that, again, not so great. The item level is kind of low. And we don't have any tier pieces yet, so we decided to take the chest tier piece. We're waiting to use our catalyst charges until we get pieces that are actually upgradable, rather than just flat, 402 item pieces that we'll never be able to upgrade. We want to try to get the most value out of our catalyst charges as possible. And we end up with an item level of 386 after 1 week of M+. So one major thing I forgot to do in our first week was come kill the world boss. So I missed out on a chance of loot, but then, tried to make it up this week and come to kill the world boss as our very first task of the week. Unfortunately, we did only get gold from it, but at least we gave it a shot this time. And now it's time to start our Tyranical keys and see how bad we'll get one-shot by these bosses. And to my surprise, we get an invite to a plus 11 Shadow Moon Burial Grounds, which I figure is the best form of key that I could ask for the week. And this will give me a good idea of how many defensives or which defensives I need to use on different bosses, because I'll be able to see how hard things actually hit. I know I'm still pretty undergeared, I don't have tier sets yet, so this is a very good warm-up key just to see how Tyrannical Week feels. Plus 11 Shadow Moon Burial Grounds proves to be no match for us, and we wipe the floor with this dungeon, plus 3ing the key. We get a nice little bit of IO from this, up to 1419, and really good confidence boost to start off the week. We end up posting our own key up just to keep the flow going, and we end up with a Court of Stars full group here. What could go wrong? Well, for starters, nobody seems to really know what the sentry does here, so I end up having to chase this guy down pretty much by myself. And in the process, somebody ends up pulling this room out of the house. And this is not a very good pull that you want to have most of the time, because this has 2 mana sabers, and if they both jump on the same target, or cleave onto the same target, that could definitely be a one-shot, and it's very scary. So we end up getting a butt pull here. I have trouble getting aggro back, and once I have aggro back, we try to stabilize, and everything seems to be okay again, for now. But then, as we're finishing up the pull on this last mob, our Demon Hunter does a vengeful retreat into this other 2-pack. So now we're at 2 butt pulls, less than 5 minutes into the dungeon already. You know, it's not the end of the world, it's a plus 13, whatever, we'll just do less trash later, right? Right? So before our first boss, no one seems to really know how to do the beacon, so I run over and I do the bar beacon, and I also got the file in the middle of the room. Now you see me charging back over here, and our rogue doesn't use distract or something on this mob pack, so we end up getting our 3rd extra pull of the dungeon. And then our Demon Hunter walks too close to the other pack, and we get our 4th extra pull of the dungeon. Like, we're gonna be at 100% trash before we're done the first boss at this point. Like, is that hard to not move in front of all these mobs? This is I'm starting to get a little bit frustrated at this point. You know, I know that we still have plenty of time. Our timer's still super healthy, so I'm not trying to tilt myself off the face of the earth. But this is just, I just don't know what to do. We get about halfway through the boss fight, and then lo and behold, our rogue gets too close to his other pack again. So we end up getting all this extra trash on top of boss. Now, with a better group, this would have been recoverable 100%. We would rotate kicks on the Arcanist, and everything would be fine. However, this is not that group. So now we're down to just me and the healer, and this is going to take forever without an extra DPS, right? So I see we have a B-Res, so I'm going to send it on our rogue right here, and we're going to try to finish off this fight. You know, we have to make sure we're dodging all these abilities, pretty big cones, pretty big frontals. I'm getting a little overwhelmed. I'm just trying to catch up here. You know, I've ran through some of my cooldowns. I still have a couple available. I have wings back up here, so I could send that, but I don't really feel the need to defensively, at least. This is a pretty easy fight. And we lost our rogue again. So now we're without a B-Res, and I got 20% left to kill on this boss with just me and the healer up. This is going to take forever. But I see that we have another B-Res coming up in about 20 seconds. So I'm just trying to bide my time until that res comes up so we can get another DPS up and finish off this fight. Our timer's not looking so great anymore. You usually want to be done this boss, even on high level keys, before the 10-minute mark. So this is a plus 13, and we're at 64% trash, which is normally what you'd get after like your first Enforcer pull on the other side. But then look at this cool joke. I send a B-Res on the rogue, instantly dead again. You have to look before you accept the B-Res, man. So I B-Res this rogue twice in this fight, and he died instantly twice. I'm getting tilted at this point. Like, I'm just wasting my time, right? But now I'm thinking, you know what? We have most of the percent. Maybe this round is still salvageable. So we're going to finish off this boss, and we're going to continue going on anyways. We get through the long walk over to the other side, and we move on towards the Shadow Mistress and the Imp Pull. So I come into this Imp Pull, I instantly Divine Toll everything that I can, and my group is just nowhere to be found. I have no idea what my group is doing here. We get one knock, somebody's dead. Okay. I don't have CCs, I use my Divine Toll, I use my Blinding Light already, and one by one, our team is just getting knocked out. So this is a little bit less than ideal. You know, I'm left alone on this other side now. My King's Pop. I could have probably lived again if I used my cooldowns better. But, again, I thought, what was the point if my entire team is just permanently on the floor? And then somehow, I don't know what happened here, but they butt pulled again and pulled this bridge pack. So now this is just not it. This is just not it. I just die. This is like our 7th butt pull of the dungeon. We are 15 minutes into the dungeon, and most of our trash is done from butt pulls. I have no patience at this point. And you know what the dirtiest part about this whole run is? We still timed it. We had 17 deaths, we pulled 150% trash, and we still timed this key with a minute left. But this was the most painful key so far. I'm okay with mistakes. I'm okay with, somebody's new to the dungeon, you butt pull something once, whatever, then you're super alert for the rest of the key. But between the Demon Hunter and the Rogue, they butt pulled 8 or 9 times combined in one dungeon. There's not even that much trash in this dungeon. They literally went out of their way to somehow butt pull every piece of trash that we did not need. This was just the worst run, the worst feeling run I've ever done. I never want to do this again. And then what's even better is the Rogue is talking trash to our healer, saying that healers don't get an opinion, and healers chatting don't get an opinion in the chat, whatever. I instantly just, no, man, this guy's ignored. I'm never playing with this Rogue again. Like, he messed up more than anybody else in this key, and he is absolutely being so rude to our healer. No shot. No shot, no shot. But because that was our own key, and we were able to time it, we ended up with a plus 14 Algathar and got a group together for that in no time. So we're coming up to our first pull here, and this is a Tyranical Bolstering Volcanic Thundering Week, so I'm not too worried about the trash killing me. I remember doing this last week on Fortified, and it wasn't too bad. So having just ran this on Fortified Week, I feel pretty confident I can do all of this on Tyranical, especially without Explosive now. It is bolstering, but I'm not really too worried about the bolstering. It'll just be the lashers, really, right? And the birds? Because the hungry little boys don't give bolstering stacks, but they get bolstered, but those guys should die first. So we end up pulling all of this trash at once. I see the birds coming in. I should have probably positioned better to make sure I was in range of them before the rest of my team, so nobody got the aggro. And I was able to pick up the aggro pretty quickly here. And we did lose one member to the Swirly here, but looking at how easy this pull was, I'm pretty sure I could have gone ahead and just pulled everything immediately right off the rip, and it would have been completely fine. We kill the Overgrown Ancient, and we head over towards the Guardian Sentry mob on the other side of this windy bridge platform. I lose my focus, and I start talking to chat, reading it a little bit too much, and before you know it, I can't make it into line of sight, and I get knocked off the platform into oblivion. Very less than ideal, and I'm just praying that my group can kite it out and survive until I get back. So I'm just trying to speed back over there. But then, as we take the bridge over, we get absolutely trolled. I can't see what's going on over here, and as soon as I get over, just like that, I get knocked back into oblivion. And I'm too far out of range for a mass res, so I have to run all the way back again. I have a close call with death on one of these last Savage Pecks, but I'm instantly able to heal it up with the Wog, and we keep on going through our run. I'm looking at our timer, and I'm seeing that it's still pretty healthy, despite me wasting 2 to 3 minutes having to run back after falling off this platform, not once, but twice. We get to the last boss, and the key almost gets thrown out the window here. Or at least it gets to the point where it would have been very, very close if we had to run all the way back. We had some pretty unlucky timing with the suck and where the balls were coming in through the boss, and it wipes out 2 of our members immediately. but we're able to close out the last couple percent and finish off the key, still plus 2ing it, giving us a nice big 78 IO, and also a plus 16 key. So we can finally start farming those primal concentrated infusions to make our 418 gear from our spark pieces. So that's super awesome. I res up the 2 members that died, and we go to loot the vault, and unfortunately we do get a chest piece, which we looted from our box regardless this week. So I check out the warrior to see if he needs it, but he doesn't, so we're just going to go ahead and vendor that piece in a little bit. And we ended up getting a 16 Halls of Valor. This group did so well, despite me being the main cause of us having issues in this key, that I asked them if they want to go into the next key together. Only the Demon Hunter wants to stick around for the next key, so we set back up an LFG to recruit for our 16 halls. Our group gets made in no time, and we send off on our 16 Halls of Valor here. We send off into this first pull, and I'm pretty excited for this pull because I want to see how much I can take. I always want to be doing this as a triple pull for sure, because that's what you need to do on higher keys to time them. So I'm trying to figure out what I got to do to live this, as well as make sure that I pull effectively, efficiently, and most importantly, stay alive. So I group all these mobs together. We imprison one Thundercaller out just for safety, and I'm just sitting on this other Thundercaller, make sure that no casts go off. Once that first Thundercaller is dead, I try to slowly start kiting my way towards the other Thundercaller once it looks a little bit safer. I don't really want to bolster the other Thundercaller too much, so I just wait here. I almost do die there, but I pop my Ardent Defender because I'm pretty sure the 6 bolster Lightning Breath would have one-shot me otherwise. And my Ardent Defender popped, and I was able to stay alive. So we're starting to tune into how to use our defensives here properly. And this is the first time where we've actually needed to. As we're pushing up into the higher key levels, I mean 16 isn't really that high, but compared to what we have been running, this is where I start needing to rely on more than just my wings. We have a pretty clean run up until a certain point. So we're killing Herja, and we have the boss at 50%. This big knockback comes, and I think that I can live it without using anything, because I'm being really greedy with my defensives. But I was full HP, so I thought maybe I could live it without needing to press Kings or Ardent or Eye of Tyr. I just thought that maybe I could just live it because I was full HP. But I was proven very wrong, and unfortunately nobody has an NGB res on the team, so we have to wipe it out and send it back. This was a major learning experience for me because now this taught me that I need to have a defensive for every single one of those knockbacks going into this fight. So it's very important that I learn this now rather than when I'm doing the 20s, so that way when I'm on the 20s, I don't make the same mistake. And this time, I make sure I have a defensive for every knockback. Here, I use my wings. I don't know if I should have held wings for this initially, but either way, it also popped my Fake King's Cheat Death as well, so I don't know if I need to be pairing my cooldowns here. Like, maybe I need to use wings plus Eye of Tyr, perhaps, in order to not have my automatic Kings pop. I'm not quite sure. But either way, we lived it, so we made sure we had defensive, and now we're getting ready for a knockback again. So this time, I use my Ardent Defender, and I'm able to live another knockback. For the third knockback here, I use my Kings to make sure that I don't die, but it also pops my cheat Kings. I'm not quite sure how that works. I'm not quite sure if I get double Kings time or not, or like if it stacks on top, or if it's just like a double DR, or if it's completely useless if you're in Kings and your cheat Kings pops as well. Either way, we're just making sure that we're living here, because that's the most important thing that we need to manage. And then we have one more knockback. I probably could have just stayed on this side, but I just wasn't thinking. And I use my wings again to stay alive for the final knockback. I also keep the boss way too far in the middle here, and we end up getting a... this is not where you want to be, because it enrages the Eye of the Storm kind of deal. And she gets a stacking buff that makes the Eye of the Storm deal even more damage. Thankfully, we were able to kill it. I was kind of just tuned out, not paying attention, so that could have been very ugly for my team if we didn't kill the boss right then and there. After Fenrir, we go to the bear pull here, and I pulled this last week, and I wasn't paying attention, and I didn't pop anything preemptively. So I made sure that I had a button available as soon as these things grouped up, and I pop my wings, and then I immediately pop my kings afterwards, just because I notice I'm taking a lot of damage. I definitely misplayed that, I think. I should have waited for my kings to get a little bit lower, I think, before popping such a big defensive with my kings. But I see that I still have Ardent Defender and Tier up, and the pack is dying pretty quickly. We're mowing this down. Everyone's doing really, really good DPS, but the bolstering stacks are starting to get kind of up there. So I'm not really too worried. We're down to 1 mob. It does have 6 stacks, but I just get 1 shot. I really wasn't expecting that. I could have lived it if I predicted that it would have done that much damage to me, or I could have stunned him. I could have used Eye of Tear. I could have used Ardent. I had a lot of buttons available, and I just didn't do it because I really didn't think that I would die to the one last bear, since I was able to live all the others just fine. But not the biggest deal in the world. It dies right after I die, and we're able to move on towards the last boss area. We are still missing a little bit of percent here. We're at 79.26. I don't realize that though, and I go ahead and I pick up a beer way too soon. So we end up having to do these mini bosses the old traditional way of kill 1, then kill the 2nd, and then do the last 2 together. But it's no big deal. We end up killing the boss with almost 3 minutes left on our clock on this plus 16 Halls of Valor, even though I completely messed up on Herja, and we had to re-clear the boss after getting it to 50% and running all the way back. So I'm very, very happy that we were able to crank out this key. Got us a lot of points, 107, bringing us up to 1685 so far for the week. And what's even better is we get a belt out of this, which is a 55 item level upgrade for us. Absolutely huge. We get up to 389 item level with this new addition to our set. So I ran out of space on my hard drive while recording this and lost the footage of our plus 2 15 Azure Vaults. That brought us up to a score of 1783 for our first Tyranical week, and it also brought us up to an item level of 390. So not too bad. Could have been a little higher. I also could have probably pushed to 2k this week if I finished doing the rest of my Tyrannical keys, but I figure I'm going to need to do an entire set of Fortified and an entire set of Tyrannical as well on a higher level before we get to 2500 anyways. So no big deal. Remember guys, if you want to check out this stuff live, follow the stream at twitch.tv/chirpytv. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time.